in October of 2015 were in our favorite pub having a pint, as they say, and we were saying, look at all the cool stuff we found just by crunching New York State. You know, what happens if we did the whole country? And for the next 20 minutes, we stared at each other across those pints saying, oh my God, this will take forever. It'll take a year, right? It took 18 months. Okay. Every weekend for 18
Wow.
months. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Save 2 weekends. We were flat on our back with the flu. But beyond that, it was every weekend for 18 months. And I tell you, we were getting so close to being done with it. And when we actually got all the data cleaned up, that was the biggest problem. The data is dirty and isn't easily crunched. And when we got to the point, the last 4 or 5 months, we were starting to print out the charts and tables and things like this. We were getting paranoid. So we would burn whatever work we did that weekend. We would burn onto a thumb drive and put it in an envelope. And I'd take it to work and give it to somebody, put it in her desk, and it had a date on it. Okay. And then the next
Why were
weekend,
you paranoid like that?
goofy things were happening around the house.
Like, like somebody was involved with this besides just
We
y'all?
Yeah, we don't know what the deal was. A lot of people say, well, the Men in Black, well, yeah, maybe we don't know who was messing with us. Somebody was messing with us. And so we'd go away for a weekend. We were afraid the place would be burnt down or broken into. So, I mean, literally, my laptop went to somebody else's house before we left. If we went away for the weekend, it went someplace else. Every weekend we crunched, did refining work on the stuff that was going to be the book. We would burn a copy of the current version into another thumb drive. We had about a half a dozen or a dozen thumb drives floating around, and they were sitting in a manila envelope in somebody's desk, my boss, her boss, colleagues at the office. And I had a little file in my back pocket that told me who had what date. And if we had had a crash, it was the proverbial offsite backup. If we had had a crash or somebody had stole my laptop, we could have recovered what we had done. And so we did that.
That is so
And
terrible that you were placed in the position of having to do that. That's practically impossible to believe had I not experienced other people writing on these topics doing the same thing. It's almost frightening.
but yeah, it was very frightening for us. We had at least two incidents where one day I was getting ready to go on a business trip, and I went downstairs to do something to undo the our house alarm. We had an alarm in the house. It was a 100-year-old house. We had a fire alarm, burglar alarm system, and I went to go undo it, and it had been undone overnight.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
And that bothered us, and that bothered us a lot. And I had read similar thing that happened. Similar stuff had happened to Whitley Strieber, and going, oh my goodness.
Absolutely. Yes, that's one of the people that I had in mind. He had spoken about that.
Yeah, and hell, he lost a check for like 6 grand. It was sitting on his desk. It wasn't there when he came home. So that bothered us. So, like I said, that's when I used to be in disaster recovery at one point in my corporate career. So we decided to do this idea of offsite protection. And we started burning something on a thumb drive. I would take it to work, hand it to somebody. She'd take it to work and hand it to somebody. They'd put it in their desk. And then when we were getting around to recycling that thumb drive, we'd get that one back from somebody and bring it home, burn it into something, and then give it back to them or something like that. So we had about 6 people in rotation. And until that book actually hit the street, that's how we operated. And there was just too much that can go wrong. Yeah, for that matter, even just having a normal computer crashing, too much can go wrong. So that was what the kind of hoops we went through right up until the book came out in March of 2017. And then the other deal is that when we were able to get proof copies from Create Space, Slant, Amazon. We sent a copy at the request of Ralph Blumenthal at the New York Times. He'd been following what I was working on, and he ended up taking a copy into his editors and put it on through this 374 page, 2.5 pound, 8.5, 11 by book on their desk, and said some folks in Syracuse. Actually, the line was some old ladies in Syracuse did the design, and
That's funny.
That is funny, and they said, okay, follow the story. So he jumped on a train, came up, and literally spent the day with us. Sat in my library, ate scones, drank tea with me. We had a library in the front room, had like 1,500 books in it, and not more than 40 fiction books in the entire library. That was completely a reference library.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's my favorite kind of library.
Well, we sold the house, and before we sold the house, we sold the library. And we both cried for 2 days. But so the bottom line on the deal was he came up one. I guess he half wanted to find out if we were living in my mother's cellar or something. And we talked about the thing, and he was as well read as anything I had read. And we talked deeply for 4 or 5 hours. Linda came home from work. He talked to her for another 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, do you know what? I have to interrupt you because I've been so into this conversation that we've blown past our break.
Oh, do your break.
We've got to take 3 minutes, everybody, and we will be right back. Y'all, I know y'all are enjoying Cheryl every bit as much as I am, I promise. We're going to do these 3 minutes, and it's going to keep on rolling just like it is. Catch y'all in a few.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. I told you we'd be right back. I never lie to you. We are back with Cheryl Costa, who is sharing information of the experiences that she and Linda went through as they were trying to get this book together. And last time right before break, we were talking about how y'all were visiting with scones and tea in your library, which became defunct. I'm so sad about that for you. I would have cried for 2 days too.
Well, we did. We actually got, it took us 14 months to get rid of the house. And we finally sold the house about, I think December 27th or something like that. It was like about 3 days before New Year's this past year. We finally unloaded it, and it's a tremendous psychological unload.
Yes.
Because we were still paying mortgage on it, we were still paying insurance on it, we were still paying for the cable for the burglar the fire alarm and burglar alarm system and everything. So it was a financial drain on us for that 14 months, but it was also just a psychological drain of wondering if it's okay over there. And we had several efforts to break into the house and things like this. Just kids, but we had a lot of that kind of stuff go on, and it bothered us a lot. Let me tell you what happened with that interview. After he talked to me and Linda for me all afternoon, and Linda after late afternoon, we both all jumped in the car and went down to Kitty Hoynes, which is one of the favorite Irish pubs here in the area, and went down there and had a splendid dinner and talked the night away down there. And the article came out a couple of weeks later on 24 on the online edition of the New York Times, came out on the 24th of April, and the print edition came out on the 25th. And it was in Science Magazine, of all things. That was the last place.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we broke that barrier for the UFO community, that there was finally a positive article about UFOs, and it made it in the Science Magazine in the New York Times. And that went over very well. And of course, what we didn't know was there was a bigger effort. 8 months later, they broke the story about the Pentagon program.
Ah, yes.
Okay, the same folks, Ralph was part with it with Leslie Keenan, like that. The New York Times and Politico broke that. And so I felt very privileged that Linda and I were part of the 2017 disclosure effort,
Well, you should. I mean, that's huge to be affiliated with that group of people that were brave enough to come out and say, I mean, actually they were about to get out it anyway, but still, that were willing to put that foot forward and make that change in mindset.
Well, what was interesting is that the title of the article was "People Are Seeing UFOs All Over, and this book proves it." Okay, and there are 3,242 counties in the United States, give or take. They're always either adding one or merging one. Okay, so that number is a little bit of a moving target, but the last number I saw was I used to just quote over 3,000, but it's really up around 240, 242, something like that right now. And in the original book, we couldn't show evidence for more than 1,775 counties. Since that time, we've had the opportunity to add 3 more years worth of data to our database, and we sat down and went through, and we're still working on it, a systematic fix of spelling of cities, and we had a very bad mail list, it turned out, and certain cities don't even exist in certain states. There was bad stuff like that in there.
Right.
We've corrected a lot of that. We've corrected the counties, and what it really looks like now is it looks like we've actually got sightings now, even just one from all 3,300 something counties. And
that's astounding.
That makes me feel that's astounding to me too. And
so every county has had some type of experience reported.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I thought so too, and the goofy thing, Texas was one of the ones where some of the counties are not much more than pastures,
Well, yeah, and then you get to Louisiana where they're all swamp. I mean, there's different places have different challenges.
Exactly. But people do live in those places, Might not be many, but they do live. So that was a refreshing thing. That's kind of where the book came from. And the first, we've gotten our share of mail. Oh, you made a mistake here. You made a mistake there. But one of the guys, Rich Hoffman, who I know you.
I do. He was my Alabama director for MUFON. Yep. He is no longer. He's got his own thing.
Yeah, he's got that great scientific conference. He had a lot of PhDs at that thing,
He's brilliant.
he did the foreword to our book. And
Why did I not know that?
I don't
How
know.
did I not know that?
Do you have a copy of our book?
I do have a copy of your